Hello. So a couple people have asked me how it is I get from point to point and why there's always a Jeep parked there. And I'm a section hiker, so as a part of that, I hike sections. And when you talk about doing sections, you're talking about how do you access the PCT. And that works really good in California. Every about 16 to 20 miles, there's a road that goes across. It works okay in Oregon. There's about every 20 miles or so. And in Washington, it's not so hot. There might be 30, 40, 50 miles between roads. Now you can access the PCT from forest roads, but those are difficult to navigate, and my wife doesn't like dirt forest roads, so we just basically stick to country roads or freeways or highways, that kind of thing, something that's easy to get to. So my wife is my support crew. She'll drop me off at some point on the PCT and pick me up 15, 20 miles later. We'll go back to the van. I'll have some beer, we'll watch TV on the same van that you saw me convert. Yes, I know it's a rough life, and I often think I'm the luckiest man on earth. I get to hike all day and then come back and watch TV. So it's true. For me, it's heaven. I guess if people didn't like to hike or didn't like to be in a van, it'd be hell. But one man's hell is another man's heaven. So by being able to go back to the van, it works good because if one day we just want to go sightsee at someplace close, or if I'm beat up and want to just take a day off, I can do that, and it doesn't cost the farm because where we stay and the way we use the van, it's very cheap. So my wife likes to hike too. She just doesn't like to hike for 8 or 10 hours. So she likes to hike for like an hour and a half in and then turn around and go back. So that's the way it usually works, is that we'll both start hiking together, and I have my dog with me too. So she can't walk 20 miles. She can maybe walk about 3 hours. So that's about her max. So my wife will go back to the car, and then she goes shopping. She'll go back to the van and hang out and read. She likes to be in the van. That's her happy place. She likes to be on the road. She likes to travel. She likes to see new cities, meet new people. She doesn't like to sit around. So it works out good for her, and it works out good for me too. So we communicate to each other by using InReach Explorers. So there's no cell service. So what I'll do is I'll just type out a text that says 2 miles from Trailhead, so she knows to kind of start wandering back towards where she was going to pick me up at. So one question is, how do you work the cars? And we have a van and a Jeep. So we drive the van to where we're going to camp for that night or for the next couple nights, and then we use the Jeep to kind of go back and forth. One variance is, say, if it's time to move the van north, then we'll drive the van and the Jeep to where I'm going to end up. That'll be the pickup spot. Then she'll drive me back to the drop-off spot in the Jeep, and then she'll go back and get in the van and drive the van to where we're going to end up. Then when I get to the pickup spot, the Jeep will be waiting for me, and I have a key in my pocket, I hope. That'd be a real bummer to forget that. And then I drive the Jeep to where she's going to be camping. So the nature of the PCT is you're always moving north, and in that it becomes too far to get to the van sometimes. So when the van becomes too far, we'll just drive the van up to the next camp spot and then work off of that. Maybe a couple nights at each camp spot is about it, because I can get in 40 miles there. That's a long way in a car. 40 miles is a long drive. So it's amazing how far people can walk. Otherwise, it could be done with just a van, and it's probably simpler too. If you just have one person drive the van and then drive to the pickup spot and wait, and then camp there, and you drive to the next pickup spot and camp there. That's probably easier, but this is the way she likes to do it. So how do I pick where I'm going to be dropped off or which sections? I look at gut hooks. I look at Delora makes a big map book that's got the trail right on it. I look and see where we could get good access, where I've already gone and where I've not gone yet. So the basic tenet of all this is to drop off at an unknown and then pick up at a known. So what does that mean? That means an unknown is a sketchy place. It's a place that's 10 miles on a dirt road or 10 miles back on a little tiny road. A known would be a nice highway or freeway or someplace that it's definitely not going to be close. It helps if you've already seen the pickup and the drop-off spots. So as we drive by, I'll go, there's the drop-off spot. And then so that way there's always a picture in your mind of it. But what you don't want to do is to drop off at a known and pick up at an unknown, because what if the unknown is like a road that's 10 miles back and there's a tree across the road or there's a gate closed and you didn't know that. So then it's a long walk back to where where the Jeep is. It might be 10 miles. So if I've already done 20, doing a 30-mile day doesn't sound like fun, and I'd be trying to just headlamp back to the Jeep. I come ready to spend the night, but that wouldn't be my first choice. One thing to remember is that the person who's doing the picking up absolutely has to have gut hooks on their cell phone. Usually the PCT has a sign or that kind of thing, but sometimes just even I'm looking like, where is it? And I've got it right on my gut hooks, and it's like, I think it's right there. So you could drive by it without any problem. Now, if there's a good drop-off point and a good pickup point, then I'll just look at gut hook's elevation. So if it's a 4,000-foot drop, then I found it's easier to walk downhill than up. So I'll drop off on the high and then walk to the low. The PCT is already hard enough. You don't need to make it harder. And finally, there is just no good pickup spot for the next 20 miles. And the next good pickup spot might be 40 miles from where the drop-off is. So that's where I just camp then. So it might be a 2-day trip back to the just pickup spot. And that's okay because it becomes really tough to do a 10-mile dirt road. And then so you come out and get me, that's nice. But remember, the next day you got to come back to drop me off to go further north. So that gets a little bit tiresome. And there was a spot in Oregon by Miller Lake where there was about 10 miles of washboard road. It's like, I did it twice and not doing that road again ever. So it becomes tough. It's just easier just to keep on walking. So where do we camp the van? Well, the first choice is going to be Thousand Trails. Thousand Trails is great. It's like $500 a year to be a member, and then it's free after that. So we haven't paid for camping in a long time, and there's a lot of campgrounds that are close. We're going to go to one tomorrow. You just show them your card, and they let you pick a spot, and they're always clean, and they're just usually really big campgrounds, and they usually have nice bathrooms and showers and that kind of thing, and they always have water and power right by the van. The second one is where you pay for RV parks. They're like $35 to $45 a night. Sometimes they're nicer than the Thousand Trails in that they have some really nice bathrooms and that kind of stuff, but sometimes not. Always the Wi-Fi is going to suck on all of them. There ain't no good RV park that I found that the speed is about 10 megabits per second. I mean, it's just good enough to check your mail, and that's about it. So what I do for internet is I have Verizon. I found that to be the best. AT&T is not the best when you're trying to get into rural places. It works good in towns, but don't think you're going to find 4 bars out in the middle of some woods. So I found that just Verizon, I can usually get 1 or 2 bars, and then I bought a cell signal booster, which will get it up to 4 bars, and it'll work good enough to be able to check mail and look at the news and that kind of thing, and weather. So other places we stay at, if it's a summer, you can stay in the snow parks. I never knew that before. It's perfectly fine to use the snow parks for overnight camping. You can't camp in a tent, but you can RV it in a park there. And there's always a pit toilet with lots of toilet paper, and it's pretty clean. It's not as nice as a flush toilet, but it's fine. So there's always a snow park near the PCT because it usually runs in the mountains, and snow parks are in the mountains, so it works out. And then lastly, if you just have the BLM land, that's government land, you can camp in the same spot for up to 2 weeks for free. Now there's no water, there's nothing. Sometimes they'll have BLM kind of little sites where they'll have a picnic table and a fire ring, but really you can just pull it off the road far enough and camp there. So for further info on that, just go in and just type in Bureau of Land Management and camping, and then it'll come up. Finally, I would say if you're going to do sections, then do blocks of sections. Don't do 10 miles here and go 40 miles up the trail and do 10 miles and do 90 miles up the trail and do 20. You try to do blocks of like 50 miles so that you can put them together. If you just spread it out too far, most people would just lose interest and you feel like you're not getting anywhere and you're always walking. And so say a goal might be to walk from Kennedy Meadows to Lake Tahoe. That's a nice block. And then the next goal might be to walk from Lake Tahoe to just Sierra City, or maybe from Walker Pass to Kennedy Meadows. Then you've got a good block, and before you know it, you've got half of California done. So that's the best way, I think, to play that out. Don't make it too scattered. Of course, it is in some ways easier just to through hike, but through hiking is incredibly physically pounding. It's very hard to bang out 25-mile days, 6 days a week for 5 months without getting hurt. So I don't know that I could even do that without getting hurt, but I don't need to. I can just do this at a slower pace and make it work for me. So I'm just out there to have fun. I'm not out there to prove anything. I really don't care whether Swami or Andrew Skirka or Anish knows who I am. Doesn't matter to me. I'm just out there to have fun. Okay, so that's probably more than you ever wanted to know about about how to section hike. I hope that's helped someone. Bye bye.